live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Run 7. How you doing? Today we're going over a Crucible defense. It's MiracalMeat. They're coming in at 15.5 million. I believe they're at Plat 1. This has got some stuff that we're going to need to work on. We're going to be talking about Tangled Web and what you want to use there. There's some new comps coming in that are pretty exciting in that room number 5, whether you want to be using Tangled Web or not. And then, of course, we've always got questions about Wakanda in 6. So we had Pathfinder on the line helping me out behind the scenes. If you want to be a part of those conversations and help me out in chat as well, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch, you can be there live. Those are not included in the recasts on YouTube. You have to either go to the VODs or just be there live. So be sure to check those out. It's free, it's fun, and you can watch me fail a lot. All right, team number 1 is the Asgardians. I don't like this team anymore at all. At all. I think it's just not necessary to build this, not even for the Scourges anymore. Thor has some value for early gameplay, but really this team just doesn't help you along in the game at all. And it's an absolute liability on Crucible defense. If you use the right counter on this, it is one of the most efficient counters. You can blow this team up in 3 turns without them even making a move, and you can score really high on it. So you don't want to use this team. They don't get their war buffs. And I don't like Sif as a fortifier. I think she should be a raider. Otherwise, the placement is good on this. Don't build this team anymore. It's not even a good filler team. You'd be better off with random junk in here because at least it would make people stop and think about what they're going to use into it. Whereas the people who are studying Crucible, they know they can come in here with like a Star-Lord new warrior comp and just delete this team in a big fast pace. So I think I'm gonna give this a D-. I think it's as close to an F as you can get. It's a super liability. Just we gotta get rid. We gotta do something else. Team number 2 is the Bionic Avengers. This is a filler defense, but it's a good filler defense. You have to build this team for raids. You're gonna be building them big, so it's a big team that people have to deal with. It also doesn't have like a super precise counter. It's easily counterable. You can use things like A-Force members and new warrior members. You just kind of kill Deathlock and control Viv. You got to kind of trauma lock Viv, but you can beat this team, but it's a little more tricky. And I think it's a great filler defense for newer players and for people who are going really heavy on offense. It's good in here. I like the placement. I like the ISOs, except for Vision. Vision no longer needs to be a skirmisher. He does not have a focus problem. He does AoE attacks and chain attacks or something, splash damage all over the place. So make him a raider. Raider is what you want on Vision. So I'm going to go A- on this team for that one ISO change. Team number 3 is the Young Avengers. This is a fantastic team to be using in rooms 1, 2, or 3. They naturally are strikers, so it kind of fits with the portable shield device. Also, and this is coming from Pathfinder Gaming, if you wanted to, you could, first we need to swap America Chavez and Kate because we want America Chavez next to Ms. Marvel when she's taunting. And we also want Kate next to Squirrel Girl for the trick play, which is you can put Fortifier on Squirrel Girl, who is taking a lot of turns. And then when she uses her ultimate, she's spreading a lot of positive effects to what would be Kate and Echo and giving you some benefit there. So that's an idea. So let's tweak the placement, consider switching the ISO to a Fortifier and really taking advantage of portable shield device. If you already run Squirrel Girl as a striker, maybe it's not worth it to change it, but since you're running her as a healer, you could consider that. This is pretty good. We definitely need the placement change either way. We just don't want Kate being next to Miss Marvel for the chain attacks and stuff. You don't want her getting the splash damage and whatnot. So for me, it's pretty good. Also, we might think about replacing this team with Rebirth. If you're one of the people who is building Rebirth, you could put Rebirth in here with some fortifiers, replace this team, move this to 1 and get rid of your Asgardians or something like that. I'm not saying you should build Rebirth. I'm not building Rebirth yet. I will probably build them later, but putting Rebirth in here with a couple of fortifiers is a move you can do also. All right, so moving on to team number 4 is the Unlimited X-Men. Let's get the blue ISO on Rogue. Striker or Skirmisher are good choices for her. Then we need to change the placement with Gambit. Gambit needs to be adjacent to Rogue now. That Gamma counter works really well, especially if Gambit is not adjacent to Rogue. So you got to watch out for that. Get Gambit next to her. Then he gets rewound, and then he ends up having his immunity. When the stun comes along, you can't stun him, so he's doing lots of damage, and you end up needing to punch down more with Gamma. So that'll help you out. Other than the ISO and the placement, it's a good team to be throwing in for. It still works pretty well. I'm not super excited about it as much because it's not as challenging as we thought with the resurrection protocols, only reviving them with a sliver of health. I kind of wish they would change that to something like 40 or 50% health. I think it'd make the room a lot tougher, a lot more interesting for us to get through. As is, I'm going to go with a B+ on this team. Just do those 2 tweaks and it'll be much better. Team number 5 is the Tangled Web team in Creeping Spiders. There's a Spider-Verse tag in here. Who cares? The Spider-Verse tag just does not add enough to Spider-Verse characters to really try to force them in here. Tangled Web is one of the teams that gets the most benefit out of it. However, if you do not have your teal gear already on 99 and Noir, it's just not really worth it. So I can't recommend to anyone to build Noir. 99 I would put on a slow burn because I am using him in Arena. He's a character that gets use and you want his ability block to land and stuff like that. So it's something to build, but it's not necessary. And of course, Weaver is absolutely necessary. To the moon with Weaver. So those are some builds. However, Miles and Gwen are yesterday's raid team. They're no good. They don't get a lot of value in here. Like we've got Kingpin and Gwen and Spider Weaver will be visible at the start of this match, but Kingpin's also summoning a minion with taunt. And so, like, you've got, I don't even understand what the idea is here. If you were trying to force them to attack Tangled Web or Spider Weaver, or it doesn't make much sense to me. There's not a lot of value here. What you could do to make this way more interesting would be replace Gwen and Kingpin with Squirrel Girl and Miss Marvel. Now what happens is Squirrel Girl ends up doing a cleanse and cleanses Spider Weaver just before she goes. It gets rid of that ability block and it can really screw you up with some of the counters that go into this. It's actually tricky. We've seen it unfold live and it was very fun to watch Pathfinder fail miserably against that. So be sure to check out those videos. I like that one. I think it's kind of new and it works really well. Again, you're breaking up your YA just to make a stronger team here, so maybe that's really not for you, but I don't think Kingpin and Gwen and even Miles don't really add a lot. The only reason you'd use Miles on that comp is because he has the synergy with the YA. You could keep him as a striker and he's going to be double tapping with Miss Marvel, something like that. Otherwise, you could do... Gosh, I don't know. You could get rid of the team altogether. That's one thing you could do. Use them on offense. I think the Tangled Web has more opportunities to be used on offense than the value you're going to get from them on defense. And then you could just treat room number 5 like room number 1 or 2. It's something. But the big thing is that this comp doesn't really work. If you happen to have Noir in here, that kind of helps, but again, you shouldn't be building Noir. He's not good enough for that. That's just kind of a luxury toss in there. That helps with some of the sack counters when you bring in a team of 5, level 1 characters to get deleted. Noir will delete them instead of 99, so you have to really stagger that sack team and then come in with your Eternals to blow it up. So that's how Noir makes things troublesome. But otherwise, I really don't like this. I think it's an absolute waste of Spider Weaver and 99. I think there are good Tangled Web defenses out there. This just isn't one of them. And we need to replace it with something because there's a lot of stuff that comes into this. Infinity Watch, Death Seed just destroys this. So this is a kind of a waste. I don't like it. I'm going to give it a D. Get those 3 or at least 2 of those out of there. And let's move on to number 6. This is Wakanda. This is the OG Wakandans, not the War Dogs. Everybody's asking, what's the best build in room 6? The best build is whoever you have built the most. The differences are somewhat minuscule. So if everything's being equal, then technically Killmonger and BP1 Mill are the best 2 to use. However, if you happen to have a 7 red star in Baku like I do, and he's built way bigger than your other characters, you might want to throw him in here. If you have likewise the other characters built big, probably try that. If you're looking for long-term value, we suggest that you build the War Dogs. That's Nakia and BP1 Mill, along with a 3-piece in here. That's probably going to give you the longest value, the best bang for your buck, so to speak. But really, if you're looking for right now what's the best, it's whatever's built the biggest in your roster. Just use that. they're all pretty equal. However, for placement, I'd like to see Black Panther a little further away from M'Baku. Maybe you could swap places with Shuri and Black Panther. Get Shuri in the middle. She takes a lot of damage, and she's usually the last one to go. And then M'Baku should be a striker with the Vibranium tuning. We're capitalizing on damage, huge boosts to their damage. So you want him double tapping with Okoye, make him a striker. He does have lots of attacks, and he does have pretty decent damage. There's no reason to be making him a fortifier. So I think that's the way to go with this team. Few tweaks, the placement, the ISO, otherwise it's okay. You could build your Black Panther a lot bigger, and that's a safe investment for right now. It'll allow you to use this team in war regardless of who you use. And he's kind of the driving force behind this. Killmonger doing a lot of damage as well as a Raider, but BP with the turn meter and all that stuff, when he gets those kills, this team really excels. So that's where you could invest in this team if you wanted to. All in all, I think this team is okay. I'm going to give it a B-. Not super exciting. You've got a pretty hefty investment in Shuri for the rest of the team to be, 2/3 her size. All right, this has been MiracalMeat's Defense Up for Crucible. If you want your defense featured on Defense Up, links are in the description below. While you're down there, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more content. I'm putting out a lot of stuff these days. And remember, guys, don't just have a good game. Be good to yourselves and others too. And I'll see you next time. Bye.